Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our seventh installment of Decode the Debate. My name is Fallon McClure. I am the Executive Director for Georgia Alliance for Social Justice. I'm so excited for y'all to join us today. Today, Bentley Hudgins will be moderating, and I'm excited to have them here with us. And then, of course, we have some other amazing panelists with Miss Deborah Scott from GA-STANDUP and John Taylor from SEIU. And so let me tell you a little bit more about Bentley. Bentley is an organizer and political strategist who has devoted their life to building power for the new American majority across the state of Georgia. With over 7 years experience. Currently, they wear many hats in Georgia's progressive community. But Afl-Cio is to improve the lives of working families, to bring justice to the workplace and to our communities. So I'm so excited. Let's welcome Bentley.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me. Just in case Fallon's side broke up for y'all too. So today I'm representing the Georgia Afl-Cio. We are a key part of the nation's largest and strongest labor fed, the Afl-Cio, which unites over 10.5 million working people across the nation. You caught the tail end of that, but the mission of the Georgia Afl-Cio is to improve the lives of working families, to bring justice to the workplace and in our communities. So I have the distinct honor of introducing our panelists for the evening tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce one of our panelists, John Taylor III. So John is a founder of the Black Male Initiative in Georgia, where he serves as co-chair. He works to develop the capacity of grassroots organizations and impacted communities across the United States and globally in the areas of racial, economic, social, and civic justice. He focuses on the developing strategies of sustainability and direct community empowerment. Through Black Youth Votes and the Black Male Initiative, John works with a team to facilitate ongoing intergenerational dialogues between Black men and boys ranging in ages from 13 to 85 years old. These discussions are the frame of a deeper grassroots-based mentorship and support initiative within communities of color. A little bit more. He also works as the Unified Governing Campaign Director at the SEIU, where he has worked since 2003. Everybody give a round from your screens and snaps for John. I am so excited to have you here today. And do we have our next panelist ready as well? We do. Hey, long time no see, but just, not that long ago. I also have the distinct honor and privilege to introduce Deborah Scott. She is the CEO of GA-STANDUP, a think and act tank for working families, and a 2012 White House Champion of Change. She is a leading advocate of universal voting rights, economic inclusion, community empowerment, and progressive civic engagement. She's a prominent member of a broad coalition of Black women who engage at the highest levels of government to guarantee unfettered access to the ballot for all Americans. She collaborates directly with the Vice President, Kamala Harris, and other key government officials. Her policy proposals aggressively defend voting rights and support the reintroduction of civic education in all American schools to restore popular understanding of the democratic process and defeat voter suppression. Deborah is a master organizer, can attest to that, strategist, and highly skilled trainer. She's mentored by the stalwarts of the civil rights movement, legends like Reverend Joseph Lowery and Reverend James Orange. She is one of the most creative and innovative leaders of contemporary civic activism. Her organizing skills, networking savvy, and collaborative style contributed to the massive voter mobilization that shifted Georgia's political identity, influenced the outcome of the 2020 national election. Through Stand-Up's Black Youth Vote affiliate, she is molding a new generation of activists committed to equity and social justice. A builder of partnerships and collaborations, Deborah unites neighborhood groups, labor organizations, academic institutions, business interests, environmentalists, and government agencies into working coalitions to advance policies and programs that strengthen democracy by lifting up working families, neglected neighborhoods, and historically underserved populations.
Wow.
Y'all are incredible, and I have the ultimate honor and privilege of moderating with you all today. So, to get started, we have a few sections to get through before we get to Q&A. So we're going to try to spend about 3 to 4 minutes in each of these sections. And if folks who are watching, if you have any comments, any questions, anything that you would like further explanation of, please put that and let us know in the comments so that we can answer those questions at the end of today's discussion. Okay. So our first topic that we'll be talking about is a background and history of unions in the state of Georgia. So to Deborah. All right. So Georgia is a right to work state.
Yes.
So can we just get a little bit more of an understanding of what does right to work mean? When was it passed? And what has been the impact in the state of Georgia?
Well, one of the things that I'd like to say about a right to work, we call it right to work for less, which means that people can work in the state of Georgia for anything that an employer is offering over $5.25 or $5.35, which is terrible in this day and age. We are still in a penal state, if you will. Georgia is a part of course, the southern states with the legacy of slavery. So if you look at the fact that people were brought here and were not paid for their labor, we're continuing that on in 2021 because we're not paying people fairly. So when we're saying a right to work state, it's a right to work for whatever you're willing to take. What we're trying to support is a standard minimum wage of at least $15 an hour and up, a living wage, a livable wage. So we know that wages are under attack right now. We know that workers are under attack, and our job is to make sure that people are educated about what they can do to solve our situation. And so what we say is that's part of community power. We realize that we have a problem collectively, and the problem is our people are underpaid. If you look at the southern region versus other regions, we have always been grossly underpaid. And so we want to make sure that people continue to organize and mobilize so that we can get these wages up. The employers really, it's a right to work for less state, and you can get fired for anything here in Georgia. Your employer cannot like the color of your shirt, and you can get fired. So we want to make sure that people know what their rights are, know that they have unions that are here to support them in worker centers and other places. But we want to make sure that people know that they do have the right to organize, whether they accept the right or not.
Thank you for that. So that dovetails really nicely into the next question for John. So what challenges have union organizers faced in Georgia? And what can we learn from the history of union organizing in Georgia?
So I'll couch it in three ways. First of all, since 1947, when right to work was enacted, right, in Georgia, folks have battled the fact that we couldn't compel or move workers to collective bargaining. So, for example, if you have 100 workers at the shop, basic union math is 50% plus one needs to vote for the union. Once you have a union, though, you still need support from those other 49 members to be effective. And if there's no way to compel them to get on board and work with you, then it's like having a weight around your neck, constantly dragging all those strong union supporters down. And what's even worse about it is the reality is non-union members have the same privileges and access as as every other union member in the contract. The critical difference is the fervor, the zeal, the energy, and the understanding of the contract. Only union members really understand the value and importance of their contract. And it's critical for them to learn and study that contract. So that's the one challenge. The second challenge that we face, quite frankly, is a lot of negative opinions and stereotypes about what it means to be in a union. We just want to steal your money. Nobody does any work. Lazy workers get protected. All of the rhetoric, all of the lies that essentially are told by employers and by folks that don't want folks to have power is a huge obstacle that we face. And we do pretty well. And then I'll say the lesson that we learned is that even under the hardest conditions, we can survive, we can succeed, and we can excel. And that at the end of the day, as my grandmother would say, the truth don't care who tell it. So when folks really learn the values and benefits of having a union job, I've never met somebody who got an opportunity to fight for and win their union, turn around and say, I don't want that. You can have it back. Nobody ever wants to give their union back. They always want more and more and more. But the only way you get more is through collective action, which comes from having a union.
Absolutely. Like we're in Striketober right now. We've seen the IATSE workers mobilizing, folks with BCTGM, folks, and especially with like Kellogg and Nabisco. And so we have seen a resurgence of labor organizers and union organizers working for power in their workplaces. And so thank you for telling us more about how we can learn from that. So the next thing where I just want to get an overview of the work that both of you do. And so we'll go to, so John, since I'm already talking to you. All right. So I wanted to learn a little bit more about SEIU. And so folks on the stream can understand a little bit more about the work that you do there too. So can you tell us, what does SEIU stand for? And what is the mission? And then also, are there any current projects that y'all are working on that you would love for people to know about?
Absolutely. So SEIU is the Service Employees International Union, and our mission is to provide quality engagement for service workers all over the globe. We partner with global unions, but especially in the areas of service, which include janitorial, security, healthcare, public sector employees who work in schools. We really run a gambit, distribution and allied workers here in the South and in various other places around the country. And so we're a 2.2 million member union. We fight hard every day to make sure that the voices of working folks, that essential workers, are heard and that they're counted in and not counted out. And then as far as projects or programs that we're working on right now, I think one of the biggest things that we're working on is the Build Back Better Together plan under the Biden-Harris administration, and also pushing the infrastructure bill, but making sure that those two things are intricately linked together, and that folks understand that both of them are jobs bills and that both of them are necessary for the economy. We think that it's critically important for care workers, the folks who take care of us, take care of our elders, take care of our indigent, take care of our disabled family members every day, deserve to have a decent wage and to be cared for. We think that it's critically important for essential workers who have stood on the front lines, whether it was in medical field or distribution, in communications and technology, all across the board, wherever they stood on the front lines during this pandemic, putting their lives on the line. We think it's critically important that they are heard from and taken care of in this moment, and that the resources that come out of these bills based on this pandemic are allocated to them properly, and that they don't get stuck at the state level, but that they get dispersed, that we have support for unemployment, disability. We have support for moratoriums on utilities and rental evictions, just like the action that happened today, the anti-eviction action that happened today. It is critically important that we make sure every working person in Georgia is protected and cared for.
Absolutely. So while we're talking about the importance of unions, if folks on the who are watching right now, if they're at a workplace that without protection and without the power of collective bargaining, and they are interested in unionizing, what is the first step that they should do? or how can they get in contact with support?
Was
Both
that a
of them.
Deborah question or a John question?
That's a John question.
Okay, so
Or
Deborah
both
got
of you,
answers to that
honestly.
question too. Understand? Stand up, stay ready. So the first thing that folks can do is reach out to their local union, the local union affiliates that they.
Oop.
It's okay.
Oh no.
If
Oh, you're back.
they don't have a local union affiliate in their workplace, they can reach out to the Atlanta North Georgia Labor Council, talk to Sandra Williams, who is our executive director, or to James Williams, who is our president. Both of them will provide information over at the IBEW Hall. That is 501 Pulliam Street. They can go up to the 5th floor and check in with the Atlanta North Georgia Labor Council or the State Fed office. Folks are always there. If nobody's in that office, they can come down to the 4th floor, go to Suite 410. The Black Male Initiative and the BMB Georgia offices are there, and we will help you find the right union and the right person to talk to. Because everybody doesn't have to be a member of SEIU, but everybody has to be a member of a union that will fight for you, defend you, protect you, and uplift you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. That's going to be helpful for a lot of people, because I hear all the time of folks who are out in out in their jobs and just want to be a part of this labor family, but don't know how to get started. So thank you so much for letting us know. Okay, so moving on to Deborah. So we want to hear a little bit more about Georgia Stand Up. So again, we heard a little bit about what your mission is, but I want to hear it from you. What is your mission at Georgia Stand Up? What is the change you seek to create? And then also, can you tell us a little bit about Stand Up, Trade Up, and Build Up? Oh, yeah, let's get you off mute.
Thank you, Bentley. And hello, John. John is my brother from another mother. We're all connected at the hip. Thank you so much. So Georgia Stand Up is a think and act tank for working communities. We've been around for about 16 years, and we are a labor community partnership, if you will. So if you look at some of the issues that we deal with the community, we're often looking at areas that affect people's lives. So whether it's transportation or whether it's affordable housing, we're looking at good policies or regressive policies that affect our people. And we kind of bookend that with, we want to make sure Mrs. Johnson and Mrs. Jackson, which are neighborhood leaders, are taken care of. So we want to make sure they have a good home. We want to make sure that they have a healthy home, that they can get to work, that they have a good job, that their family has a good job. So part of what Georgia Stand Up's mission is to bring leaders together so that they can solve their own problems. We kind of call ourselves like a gas station. We give fuel to the community. So if people need help on an organizing campaign, whether they're organizing their neighborhood or organizing around a issue, a development project that's coming their way, or something bad that's happening in their neighborhood, they can come to Georgia Stand Up and we can help to provide resources and training to help them and support. We have a leadership development program called our Policy Institute. We've been training people probably for the last 16 years. We've had over 400 graduates from our leadership development program. And then we started a Trade Up program, which is our pre-apprenticeship and workforce development program, and Build Up, which is our workforce development program on small projects, whether it's deconstruction or construction or cleaning out creeks or building communities. And then we have We Show Up, where we look at the movie industry and the jobs that are non-union jobs that could possibly be union jobs to kind of pipeline our community folks in. So what we're looking at is, how can we get everyday community members into the labor family in different ways? So whether it's through different sections and provisions, whether it's because they want to join a union and they can't, or whether they just need to organize. The skills that we learn from being in the union and working with union are transferable to the community. So we want to make sure that the community is strong for themselves and also can stand up with labor. But we also want to make sure when community has a campaign that our labor brothers and sisters stand up together. So it was beautiful to see us all on that Nabisco strike line a couple of weeks ago, because we realized that this is both a labor and community issue. Part of what we do here at Georgia Stand Up is really try to hone and grow coalitions. So we call them the coalitions of the willing. If you're willing to work together, if you're willing to throw down together, we have a space for you. We're here at the Movement Center, and we have space enough for organizations to come in to have their strategic retreats or have a meeting and have conversations, but really to strategize and organize and mobilize together. So we're about growing the buffet, trying to make sure people are working together and not, working in silos. We're stronger together.
Absolutely. And I love a buffet.
Me too. I love a good buffet too.
Thank you so much for that. Okay, so we're going to move on to a couple more sections. And so, John, we finally have the date for when the special session is going to start, and on November 3rd, and then the regular session that starts in January. But for either one, I feel like what is coming is going to be similar. Okay, so my question to you is, what should people expect from the coming legislative sessions, and what do you think people should be prepared for?
So, honestly, I think foolishness, just straight foolishness, is what we could expect from this session. Uh, if last session was any indication, watching SB 202, watching an omnibus bill, a Frankenstein bill as we call them, pass through the floor and actually get voted in was frightening for me, because what it signified was that we're slipping. We're losing some of the basic humanity that we need in order to function in a democracy. Watching the level of voter suppression that is being proposed, not just here in Georgia, but in over 40 states around the country, tells me that this wasn't just a one off, but that it was a coordinated plan. So we should expect more of that same playbook, more coordinated plans and actions that are seeking to limit, lower, and dismantle the voice of working people, of Black and Brown, immigrant, and Indigenous First Nation folks. We should expect that it's not going to be easy or very friendly for us, and that even when they smile at us, they may not mean us goodwill. And so we should expect, most of all, that we have to hold our partners accountable under the Gold Dome, and that we have to drive not moderate, but more progressive legislation. We have to set a line in the sand that we refuse to cross, and we have to show that we mean business during this administration, which means we have to be up earlier, we have to be out later, we have to have stronger legislative committees. We need to spend more time combing through every piece of legislation that is introduced. And quite frankly, we need to introduce more legislation. And then, most importantly, it is no longer good enough for us to identify a candidate who seems like he's on our side, or she's on our side, or they're on our side. Now is the time for us to begin recruiting and cultivating candidates that won't do what they think is in the best interest for labor when we're watching, but they'll do what's in the best interest of our communities no matter who's watching, whether we're not there at all. And so we have to create a space and cultivate our own candidates now in a way much bigger than what we've done previously. And then lastly, we can't be afraid. We can't be afraid to fail. We can't be afraid to lose on issues. We can't be afraid to argue, to fuss, and to fight a little bit. We can respect each other and still disagree, but we better be willing to disagree with the things that are wrong. If you try to take the right of a woman to choose, or the right of a person of color to vote, or the right of an elder to have access to care, or the right of a young person to get into the movement or find a good job, then you're taking my rights. You're taking the rights for everybody I care about. So I can't sit on the sidelines. We can't afford to sit on the sidelines and say, oh, that's not my fight. That's not my issue. They're all my issues. Labor has to show up in a much bigger way.
Absolutely. I mean, that is why folks were outside of the Capitol today, is because our state leaders have taken so many resources out of vital state state services like the Department of Community Affairs, Department of Labor, and all of these are now under acute dysfunction because they have intentionally taken resources away from services that were designed to service people. And now people can't get their rent money. They can't get their unemployment checks because they are undermining the basic tenets of democracy. Yes, amen. Okay, so next up, so now we have the policies that we need to shape and that need to be made so that our communities can actually thrive and not just survive through the day. But people have to get into these offices. And we have a whole election cycle coming up for municipal offices coming up. And so, Deborah, I have a question for you. So the municipal elections are coming up. Give us a little bit of a preview. What can we expect? What's going to happen? And what should people be ready to do?
So first of all, the municipal elections are here. They're already here. Early voting starts October 12th, and you can now apply for your absentee ballot. One of the things that Georgia Stand-Up did is we looked at SB 202 and saw the provision that they're saying that they have to provide a free ID. And so we called each and every county to find out where the free IDs would be, whether they would be at the driver's license office or at the registrar's office. So we are published orange book, kind of akin to the green book, where it tells you where you can shop or stop back in the day when you're coming through the South. In this case, we have to resort to providing as much information to our people as possible in an expedited way. So we have mapped out where every single voter registration site is, where you can get your free ID, whether it's a driver's license or a registrar's office, what the number is, what time, and all of that, because we don't want people to not be able to get their IDs. But in the meantime, you can apply for your absentee ballot right now. The election, early voting starts October 12th, and the election day is November 2nd. But what we're really hoping people will do is to take this time to really study the candidates, study the incumbents, look at their record, find out where they stood before, what did they do? So their voting record really tells you their values. So we're challenging our communities to really look at people with a critical eye about what your family needs and have these people actually help them or hurt them. There's two kinds of power. There's organized people and there's organized money. And oftentimes we don't have enough organized money, but we certainly have organized people. So the way in which we continue to organize people is registering people to vote and educating them to get out to vote. But more than that, it's really to get them engaged in the process. So we want to create serial voters. Every time the election box is open, we should be there. We should be the first in line to make sure that our vote counts. And then after we vote, it's our job to make sure our family and everyone connected to us, our community, vote. The only way we can continue to win, and I submit that last year and in January, the progressives won here in Georgia. But, we stand up and fight back because we are under attack. So we know that they're coming for us, which means the only way we can continue to fight is if we continue to organize. And so we have to organize at the workplace, but we also have to organize at the ballot box and in our community. We have power that we don't use. Every time we don't go to vote, we're not using the power that we have. Every time there's an opportunity to help someone else to vote and we don't, we're losing power. So we have to begin to shift the narrative and how we see ourselves and how we see the power that we have. There are more of us collectively that really care about what's happening with the human condition, and we need to make sure that we stay connected together. So we want people to go out and vote, but we want people to vote their conscience and also vote their values. Sometimes, to John's point, people who say that they're with you, when you look at their record, you see that they're actually not. So we can no longer just vote by, letters, D's or R's. We have to vote with an intention of who is the best representative for my issues in my family. So we want to encourage everyone to get involved with what Georgia Stand-Up and Black Male Initiative and all the other organizations that are working cooperatively together so that we can continue to win together.
Y'all are giving a whole Wednesday, or today's Thursday, a whole Thursday.
It's Friday Eve.
Y'all giving me a whole sermon. See, I can't even think straight. Okay, thank you. So the next section is for both of you. So folks on the call and on the stream might have heard about a thing called the PRO Act, which is the Protecting the Right to Organize Act. So for both of you, can y'all tell us a little bit more about what is the PRO Act? What does it do? What kind of impact would it have for working people in Georgia? And how can people, and like, where's it at now? Like what is the status update?
Deborah, you want to open up?
Am I on mute? Okay, so the PRO Act was actually passed from the House in March, and so now it's over in the Senate. We need people, and it's the House Bill 225 to now 206. So the PRO Act will expand protections for workers to exercise their right to form a union and collectively bargain. That will help people in places like the South to make it easier for all of us to join a union. The PRO Act will bring the U.S. closer to the international standards on addressing barriers in the workforce. But more than that, it really gives us the strength and the power of the federal government when we're actually in union organizing campaigns to make sure that the NLRA actually supports the rights for folks to organize.
Yep. And then the only thing I'd add to that, Deborah very well stated, is that the PRO Act also gives us an opportunity to have closed shops. It gives us an opportunity to get to 100% density in our union stops all over the country. It means that we have an opportunity to move unfair labor practice charges against employers when they try to make workers sit through mandatory anti-union meetings. There's a way for us to stop that. There's a way for us to hold them accountable. And then it also allows us to create some kind of space for employees to push back against management when they disagree with conditions on the ground and they want to do more work in support of their union. So it really is a robust bill. The thing I will say, though, is that PRO Act is a piece of the puzzle. If you look at the larger context of what we're dealing with, I go back to what I originally said. It's critically important that we pass an infrastructure bill that brings jobs and the economy into the forefront of what's important in this country. It's critically important that we pass a Build Back Better Together bill that puts trillions of dollars in aid and support into infrastructure and essential workers like care workers, making sure that at the end of the day, whether they are building bridges and roads, or if they're taking care of family members that we care dearly about, they are all treated as essential. It's the craziest thing. When the pandemic started, all of these workers that were working in fast food or working in restaurants or working at grocery stores, the nameless, faceless individuals that undergird our economy, driving the trucks and keeping the phones on, every one of those workers all of a sudden got deemed essential. But very few of those workers received standard and consistent hazard pay. Very few of those workers received the medical coverage that they needed to take care of themselves or their family. So, a lot of folks started feeling like the word essential was a code word for disposable. And so the PRO Act, Build Back Better Together, and the infrastructure bill, those three prongs working together prove to working people in this country that they are not second-class citizens, but that we love, honor, and respect them for the work that they do for our communities every day.
It is such an honor to be in this space with both of you. The leadership that you give in this community is incredible, and I just want to thank you for that. So both of you speak with such conviction, an urgency, and a sense of dignity and respect for every single person in our communities. And all of us have an ignition point, right, of what got us started in this work and what brought us to this moment where we have chosen to organize for our people, for our families, for our futures. And so for what I would love to hear from y'all is, so again, we're going to keep this around like a couple minutes each. I know that's not a lot of time. So how did you get involved in the work that you do today? What was your ignition point? And I will start with John and then go to Deborah.
All right, well, I'll make this short and sweet. I have been radical as long as I've been alive. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. I think I was born a revolutionary. My grandmother was named Willa 2X, Nation of Islam. But I really got involved with labor organizing by the support, love, and mentorship of Reverend James Orange. So Reverend Orange was the first youth activist hired by Dr. King during the Civil Rights Movement. He taught me so much about not just tolerance, but understanding, about empathy, and really how to organize, how to hit the ground running. And so a lot of the work I do in labor, because traditionally I come from student youth organizing and environmental justice organizing. And so a lot of the work I do in labor is because Reverend Orange helped me tie together the threads of environmental justice, labor, and community engagement in a way so that they no longer look like silos to me, but they all look like part of a much bigger picture or vision for a just society. And so I've had the pleasure to work with Deborah and a lot of folks who were mentored, developed, or had engagement with Reverend Orange. And the thing I could tell you is Reverend Orange built a family, and we are still kicking today. So that's how I got into this work.
Okay. So similar to John, I was a student organizer even in elementary school. We were desegregating the bus system in Boston and didn't know it. We were just trying to get to school. And then later, when I was a student organizer at Clark, even before that, I met Reverend Lowry, who introduced me to Reverend Orange. And Reverend Orange used to stand on campus. I went to Clark Atlanta University, which was Clark College at the time. And he would yell in the middle of the yard, "Leader! Leader!" And we would come running. And one day I asked him, well, how did you know I was a leader? Because I kind of thought I was special. And he said, "I knew you were a leader because you answered the call. People are called and people don't answer." And so I've been called to this work, have been doing it all of my life and happy to do so. Part of the mission of Georgia Stand Up is really to train the next generation. We see ourselves as that bridge between that civil rights era leader. And I was a leader, of course, in the 80s, a student leader in the 80s. And so now we're bridging into this new generation, and we have to hold each other up and hold each other accountable. We each one has to teach one. So I think part of our role is to do just what Reverend Orange did for us, is cultivated that leadership potential in us. And so there's a lot of activists out here. And so we have to seed into them. That's our responsibility so that this movement that continues will continue. So as we're closing out, I just want to say, build back better. Of course, we have to do that. We have to fight for voting rights, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. We need to end the filibuster. We need to make sure that we watch this redistricting process that's happening. And we need to make sure that we control our votes and our power. And we need to work together. So as we're continuing to build out this ecosystem of organizations like the Georgia Alliance for Social Justice, we love y'all. And like the Worker Families Party and all the organizations that have come together over the last couple of years, one of the things that we have to do is to begin to kind of come out of our silos and begin to strategize together. This is a long-term proposition. Freedom does not happen overnight. We have to build the movement that we want to see. So we're looking at 2024 and back, and what can we do to help cultivate the movement and cultivate people working together? So part of our movement is each one teach one, and let's continue to do so. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your experience. It is so deeply appreciated, and thank you for everything you've done for our communities. So before we move on to Q&A, while I have both of y'all, So some next steps, how to get involved. So how can people who are watching this get involved with the work that you are doing? We can start off with this, Deborah.
Social media, Georgia Stand Up, all around. But really, call us, email us, and let us know that you want to get involved. We are always looking for good people to join our team. We're looking for volunteers. We're looking for staff. We're looking for phone bankers and canvassers. We are preparing for next year, and we see the municipal elections as very important because all politics are local. But we're really trying to dig in deep so that we're ready for next year. We know that we have to stay organized. So they can call us at 404-581-0061. You can go to our website, georgiastandup.org, or you can like us on social media and just let us know how you want to get involved. We also are doing a series of candidate forums. Last night we did the city of South Fulton mayor's race. We'll be doing the city of Atlanta, I think next week. It will post it on social media. But we really want people to not only vote, but hold your elected officials accountable. And we need you. We need you in these streets. We need you to knock on doors. And when we call for a rally, when we call for a march, we need you to show up, stand up and show up. Right. So as we say, we like to stand up and fight back, but we need us. We need all of us to do that. We need that rainbow coalition, if you will.
I love it, Deborah. So, first things first, hug an essential worker. Tell that caregiver, tell that person working in the grocery store, the person working for UPS, the teamster that's delivering your mail, or the letter carrier that's delivering your mail, and the teamster that's delivering your packages for Amazon. Tell them that you love them and you appreciate it because they need to hear it. The injustice doesn't stop at our doorsteps. It's everywhere we go. And so whether you're working with one of our organizations or you're just identifying something that's wrong in your community and you say you fed up and two or three of your folks in the neighborhood get together to do something about it, there's work to be done. So my email is jtaylor, that's JTAYLOR, at BMI Georgia, spelled out GEORGIA.org. I'm going to give you the number to our ops manager, Kristen Tolliver, 770-856-6850. You can shoot her a text message, give her a call. If you're interested in working with us, we are hiring, just like Ms. Deborah said. We run canvas operations every day for voter registration in our communities, but we also do direct engagement around criminal justice reform, education, economic enfranchisement, Black mental health and wellness. And then we've expanded our civic engagement work to include our gathering of Black men or men's circles that we do every month, an opportunity to get brothers in spaces because we think it's critically important for Black men to say out loud, Deborah, we support you, we love you, we believe in the leadership of Black women, and we stand toe to toe with you, never in competition, always in collaboration and love, because we couldn't get here without you. And we won't get to where we're going without us being together. So, all in all, we're doing everything we can to put a positive spin on what it means to be part of our community and to just love being people of color, love being progressive people, love being the chosen people who have a brilliance all about them. So that's who we are. That's what we're doing. And you can look us up at BMI Georgia on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, same handle. But we're in these streets.
Thank y'all so much. I just wanted to say thank you. I'm so blessed to be in this community with you and learn from you every single day. So we have some questions. So Janelle has a question. Speaking of the movie industry, so when we were talking earlier about IATSE, can anyone tell us more about the IATSE vote to strike? How can we support them? Their issues are really serious. I'm going to go ahead and drop the link to the. Okay, maybe I won't do that. But there's a link to a petition. I'll get to y'all. But from y'all's perspective, what can people do right now?
My mic muted. There is a petition, and I know that there will be some rallies in action. I would go to their website. I was trying to find it because I'm getting tons of emails. Maybe we can post it in the chat of, oh, you did. All right. So the petition, once you sign up for the petition, you also start to get emails about what's happening. They will be asking us to show up and stand up for us. And we want to make sure that we don't cross those picket lines. So when they're standing out there, we need to stand out there with them. We're only, as they say, stronger together. We have to show solidarity. We cannot show weakness at this point. Every time that there's a strike and every time there's a workers' action, we need to be out there in force as much as possible, because if they come for one of us, that means they're coming for all of us. So we need to make sure that we're standing with our brothers and sisters.
Amen. And a part of standing with our brothers and sisters is actually going to join them on the line, even if it can only be for 15 or 20 minutes. Every moment you spend on that line is powerful. It's encouraging somebody who is risking their job, somebody who is risking their livelihood because they know what they're doing is right and they know that how they're being treated is wrong. So please, if you have time, join them on the line. You don't have to be in the union to stand with the union. Y'all spend some time with us on these picket lines.
Absolutely. Thank y'all so much. And if folks are active on social media, there's an account called IA_stories, where IATSE workers have been sharing their stories about what has been happening on the job. So if maybe you want to learn more about some experiences that people are having, while they're working these film and TV sets, you could hear more directly from the people who were impacted. That is a great place to start and kind of get a more of a personalized picture of the experiences that they're having. Absolutely. So we have another question. Jervon asked, how do we pass the PRO Act if we have representation in West Virginia and Arizona that are supposed to be our allies that are holding up the basic things? I don't know how to answer that question. Y'all got it.
So I'm going to say this part as nicely and diplomatically as I can. The first thing we have to do is remind our allies that they're allies. We have to remind them that so many folks voted the same way we did to put them in the office, not so that they could disappoint us or disturb us, but so that they could do what's most important, which is protect the rights of their constituents. The second thing we have to do is talk to our champions and make sure they understand that we can't give our allies a pass. And then the third thing we have to do, in the event that we have talked to our allies, loved on our allies, asked our champions to support our allies, and still nothing has changed, well, it's time for us to be the thermostat, not the thermometer. You got to get them out of there. So we have to identify candidates to run in place of those individuals who say they are our allies, but don't act as if they are our allies and work in our best interest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people will tell you who they are. People will tell you who they are if you listen. So their actions are telling us who they are. So we need to put as much pressure on them as possible from all over the country on all of this. So it's on the PRO Act as well, but on the filibuster, on the John Lewis Act, on the George Floyd Act, all of them, we need pressure. They only understand pressure, and the pressure has to come from the people. We elected you, we put you in there, we can take you out. And until we keep showing up, whether it's the March on Washington, whether it's at the Capitol, every time we show up, that's showing unity and power. So we have to keep doing it and keep coming for them. And we're going to start knocking these walls down. And we're going to have to roll call and say the names, right? And make sure we tell people who the targets are, this in a nonpartisan way, of course, but we want to make sure that everyone knows that people power is the power that we believe in, people power. And so the power of the people won't stop.
Absolutely. So speaking of opportunities in Georgia, so when earlier we were talking about at will or right to work, whatever you want to call it, Missouri reversed their law. Could Georgia do the same? Hold up, Miss Deborah, I think you're
Is it?
But she's saying, yeah, they can do the same.
Georgia absolutely could do the same. Again, we have to deal with this redistricting, but we need to deal with this, all of this. But Georgia can do the same. We have to get them to reverse a whole lot. I mean, we have to turn this state around. And I think that they know it's coming. And I think that's where the fear comes from. So we have to, again, continue to organize and continue to work together. So we know the election is November 2nd for the municipal elections, but November 3rd, we all need to be at the Capitol showing our force and showing our strength together. Everyone doesn't have to protest or be out there on the front line. We need researchers. We need organizers. We need people on the phones. There are different ways in which we can push pressure on these elected officials, but they have to understand that they work for us. And the way in which we show them that they work for us is we have to hire them, but we also have to fire them. So if incumbents are not doing what we want them to do, they have to go. I don't care who they are. Your priorities are lined up in how you vote. We need to start pulling votes and start telling people how people voted so that people can vote their values. It's a value proposition right now.
Absolutely. And if I could say very quickly, when you lay down at night to go to sleep in your bed, if you're uncomfortable, you keep moving until you find comfort so you can close your eyes. It's time for folks who are uncomfortable to keep moving. This is not a comfortable position for us to be in. We should not let them have a pass. We should show up every day. We should vote more. We should do more. We should wake up everybody else who's uncomfortable and make sure that they don't get to sleep. Why should our opposition rest well at night, knowing that they are taking from us, taking from hardworking people? We should not give them any place to hide, and we should give them no rest. So we should not stop fighting until we win. And once we win, we should keep fighting to keep what we've just won.
Oof. Absolutely. Absolutely. I just wanted to, again, thank you both for your wisdom, for your heart, for your work, for everything that you give and everything that you deservedly take like rest. So thank you so much for your contributions to this community. Thank you so much for all that you've done. I am very honored to share this space with you. And thank you to Fallon and the Georgia Alliance for Social Justice for organizing this panel today. It looked like Deborah had one more thing to say. So let's give her the mic.
Thank you. In the spirit of love, again, I want to thank, first of all, Bentley, you for being a terrific moderator, but also for all that you do out in these streets. We see you. I mean, you are a strategist. We see you and you're smart as can be. So thank you for what you do. But then, John, I know Black women get a lot of credit for what has happened here in Georgia. But I say, yes, Black women did their thing, but there were a few good men that did their thing as well. So you and Cliff Albright, y'all are some of you have a whole cluster of Black men that showed up, Horace Cooper, all of you all. I just want to thank you for your service to our people, even when it's not popular, even when people don't see you. I saw what you did. I saw you dropping off those signs in that literature and mentoring those young men. So I just want to thank you for the opportunity, Fallon, to just be in this space. But we have to keep doing these kinds of things. The more we're in touch with each other, the more we work together, even on a Thursday evening, this gives us strength and power because we know we're not alone. This is lonely work sometimes, but this is hard work. And so I thank you for all of you for serving in the movement. I know we're in good hands.
Don't tell anybody I'm smart. I only look this pretty. They can't know that. All right. Thank you. I'm going to give it to Fallon to close this out. And thank you all who have tuned in. Make sure that you plug in with all the organizations, with Georgia Stand-Up, with BMI, with SEIU, with the Georgia Afl-Cio. There's so many resources and there's so many open arms that are here to take you in and help you make the comfortable uncomfortable, and to give you a space to organize and for us to listen to you and follow your own leadership out in your community. So thank you, everybody.
I don't know that there's even much more that I can say after this great conversation, but I do just want to say thank you to Miss Deborah, who I always call on, and no matter what, you show up, and John as well, and Bentley, I called you at the last minute because I was like, I could moderate this, but you would be so much better, and you really were. And so I so appreciate you jumping on and moderating and just sharing your knowledge and wisdom, and I just appreciate sharing space with all of y'all. And I'm excited that our Georgia Alliance for Social Justice audience gets to see this. It'll be up on our YouTube page. It'll be on our website. And I look forward to continuing to work with y'all, on the day-to-day and continuing to make these things happen. So thank y'all so much.
Bye.